Welcome. Today is Tuesday. This is the homework solution for January 22nd, 2019. Number 1. It says to solve the system of equations by any method. This is a system of equations because you have one equation here and this is another equation. When you have two equations, it is called a system. To solve means to get both an x value and a y value. Okay? Alright, so the method that I'm going to decide to do for this one is I'm going to solve by graphing because the equations are already in slope-intercept form, and that form is y equals mx plus b. Here's my graph. So to graph, I have to first look at the first equation, and I need to grab two things, the slope and the y-intercept. The slope is the number in front of the x. In this case, it would be negative 1/2. It is not negative 1/2 x, it is just negative 1/2. It is just the number in front of the x. The y-intercept is the constant. It is the number without the variable right here. So we start at the y-intercept. So you're going to see a dot at the y-intercept. Okay, here's the 2. It's on the y. The y is the vertical line here. Now, the first step is to make a dot at the y-intercept, which is 2. Then we move based on the slope. The slope here is negative 1/2. The top value is negative 1. Therefore, we go down 1. See the arrow goes down 1. Then the bottom number tells us to go to the right. The bottom number here is 2, so we're going to go right 2. After that, we put a dot. That black dot is the result of going down negative 1, then going to the right 2. Once we have two dots, we can then connect the line. This would be my equation for y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. My second equation is y equals 2x plus 8. To graph this, again, we need two things, the slope and the y-intercept. The slope here is 1/1. How did I get that? The number in front of the x is 1. We don't write that 1 x, we just write x. But hopefully you understand that it's just really 1/1 because slope should always be in a fraction. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept here is this number without the variable, which is 8. Therefore, the first step to graph is to always put a dot at the y-intercept. This dot here is at the value of 8. 5 is here, 6 would be here, 7 would be here, so 8 would be up there. Then we move based on the slope. The top value, which is 1 here, says to go up 1. So the arrow here goes up 1. The bottom number here is 1, so we are going to go to the right 1. Then we put a dot. That dot is a result of moving based on the slope. After that, we connect the two dots with a line. This intersection right here is where the solution is. Negative 4, 4. That would be your solution. Number 2, solve the system equation by any method. We have a system here. I'm going to solve by substitution because the x is already solved for. What do I mean by that? Notice how the x is by itself. That's what it means by already solved for. So, I'm going to determine the equation that is solved for, which is going to be x equals to 2y minus 12. It's the only one that the variable is solved for. That means the variable is by itself. So, what I can do is I could substitute the solved equation into the other equation. The original equation is y minus 2x equals to 3. Okay? The x was replaced by 2y minus 12. You see it right here in red. That red is a result from substituting or replacing x. X was replaced by 2y minus 12. Okay, now I can simplify and solve for the variable. Negative 2 times 2y is negative 4y. Negative 2 times negative 12 is 24. That is the distributive step. Then we could combine the variable. Y minus 4y is negative 3y. Then we combine the constant. To get rid of a positive 24, we subtract 24. Right? 3 subtract 24 is negative 21. Y is still not by itself. We have to divide by negative 3. Right? Negative 27 divided by negative 3 is a positive 7. So, what we can do now is substitute the solved variable back into the original to get the other variable. This was my first equation, y minus 2x equals to 3. I can substitute y equals to 7. How did I get that? It was solved for. Do you see how the y here is now 7? I have 7 minus 2x equals to 3. What I can do now is I can subtract 7 to both sides. Okay, subtract 7, subtract 7. 3 subtract 7 is negative 4. X is not alone, so now I am going to divide by negative 2 to both sides. Once I divide by negative 2, what I get on my right hand side, negative 4 divided by negative 2 is just 2. The solution of a system is always in a format of an order pair because we have an x and we have a y. So the answer here would be 7, 2, correct? Wrong. The order pair is always written x, y. Therefore, it should be 2, 7. The x goes first, then the y. Okay? There you go. Step 3, or problem 3. Solve the system of equations by any method. I'm going to solve by graphing because the equations are in slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. Here's my grid. My first equation, y equals 2x plus 3. What is the slope? The slope, it is the number in front of the x. Right here, the number in front of the x is 2. But we always put the slope in fraction form, so it becomes 2 over 1. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is the number not touching. That's the constant right here, which is going to be 3. So our first step is to put a dot at the y-intercept. So the dot is at y3. This is y3 here. Then we move based on the slope. The 2 indicates that we go up 2. Then the bottom number is 1. That means we go to the right 1. Then we put a dot. That dot is a result of moving based on the slope. 2 up, then to the right 1. Then we connect the 2 dots with a line. My second equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 6. The slope here is 1/2 because that is that number in front of the x. The y-intercept is 6, which is a number not touching, that does not have a variable. So we put a dot at the 6 because that is our y-intercept. Then we move based on our slope. The slope is 1, therefore we go up 1. Then the bottom number is 2, so we go to the right 2. Then we put a dot. We connect the dot with a line. Then we locate the intersection. The intersection is marked with a star. The solution is 2, which is your x value right here going up. Then the y value here is 7. So your solution here would be 2, 7. There you go. Those are all your homework solution for Tuesday, January 22.